Hey everybody, and welcome to another Flipping Pages. Flipping Pages is where we look at different books, rule books and stuff like that in the hobby. Today we're going to have a look at this rule book here, Wrath of Kings, from Cool Mini or Not. Now, for those of you who are new, this is new to you, but for a lot of us who've been playing this game playing the hobby for quite a while, this is a nice throwback. Now, very quickly, Wrath of Kings was on Kickstarter in 2013 and was funded extremely quick. So what happened later is they released the game to the public, right? So basically, this is basically a Kickstarter kind of game, which found its try to find its fans after Kickstarter, right? That's the best way I can put it. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to flip through the rulebook. We're going to have a look at, how it looks like. And then at the end of the video, if you're interested, I'll tell you my thoughts on the rulebook, So yeah, so let's look at it very quickly. First off, it's very nice, nice cover. The art is really good in this book, which is great, right? You want to immerse the player into the world immediately, right? So you got your table of contents, and then you have your game concepts, right? Game terms, measuring dice, and then you got the anatomy of a card, right? And then you got the game rules, model types, line of sight, what leaders are, the gameplay, you got the activations, the movements, the actions, and then you have how to damage the model, what happens when you damage, morale, right? Then you have the getting ready to play, and these are the different battlefields that you can set up, which is kind of interesting. It works on different units deploy different on the tabletop, which is a really nice idea that I think it works really nicely. Games today have adopted this this idea as well. And then we have terrain, the game sizes and stuff like that. And then we have motivations, which is actually an integral part of the game. And then we have the glossary of terms. And that's it. That's pretty much the rules. It takes up about, it starts on page 4 from concepts and ends on page 22. So it's 18 pages of rules, right? Then we have this nice little art page here, art splash page, which is really nice. The artwork is really good. And then we have chapter 1, new player, old game. And here is House Goritsi. And we are introduced to the factions, right? House Goritsi, it's kind of nice, got some nice line art, and then a little bit of story, and then different characters and different units in the game, right? It's got a lot of lichen and vampire stuff for Goritsi, which is the it's supposedly the vibe of the this house, right? Very dark, the monsters vibe. And then you got chapter 2, deep thoughts, and this is let me see now. It's House Hadros, and House Hadros. Okay, we have some fluffy enough. House Hadros. A lot of folks quite like House Hadros. They say that this is the featured faction in the game. I believe that every game has a faction that's unique to that game, but a lot of looks like Hadros, right? Because this is the sea, right, or the water faction. Really nice, right? Stuff. Look at it. This is a huge crab. Yeah. Later, different game companies also decide to adopt sea factions, but I can easily say that this one was quite extensive. And then you have House Technis, which is chapter 3, Potential Unchained. And House Technis follows the same format. It's got some line art, it's got some fluff. For me, this faction is interesting because Technis actually has the pigs, right? I personally think that Technis is the most interesting looking faction in the game, right? While maybe when Confrontation first came out, the Wolfen were the ones which are unique, and for me, when it comes to like Private Press, it was Scorn, right? For Wrath of Kings, Technis works. It's got this like nice big thing happening. Anyways, moving on, you got House Nasir. Mask of Truth. Now, if you're interested, we actually have a video that we did that featured House Nasir painted by Laisu. The links in the description and perhaps up here as well, hopefully. Very, very nice looking. Lots of nudity. But very nice. They've got this mask thing happening, which is very, very cool. Very, very cool idea. House Nasir. Yeah, a nice vibe. So far, most of the factions have really nice images and ideas thrown into each of the factions, right? And then we have chapter 5, and these the game changer, they call it chapter 5, and this is the Shilhan and Shilhan, and over here, as you can see, it's very oriental. It's got this oriental mythology thing happening, you know. I mean, it's in the names. It's got jade lotus and stuff like that, right? I mean, if you're looking for a faction that looks a little bit more oriental, a little bit more Asian, right? That will be it. And they got chapter 6, and this is the narrative. This is a bit of a story, right? To pull you into the world. So which is good, because when you have a new world, it's quite important to immerse the player in it, or else why would the player play in it, right? So the story is quite long, which is good. Again, they could have released this in a small little booklet, and it'll probably be quite thick. Anyways, lots of art, and then more narrative, more story, right? We're introduced to lots of nice art, and then the story carries on, right? This the designers, I suppose, felt that having a good story in the rulebook would help bring the players into the game, right? Or immerse a new player into what Wrath of Kings is all about. And as you can see, all of this is the story and narrative. Goes on till, let me see now. Yeah, for quite a bit actually. And then you have a nice colored version of the art we had initially to more or less close off the book, and then you have the map, right? The map of Arikania. Okay, so like I said, this one came out in 2013. It's 2026 now, and not many people talk about this game for the simple reason that it didn't really find its fan base. The fan base was small, and everybody who actually wanted miniatures from this game actually got them in the Kickstarter, right? So yeah, so that's pretty much my flip through. But I'm going to use this next bit to talk about Wrath of Kings very, very quick. Just very, very quick. Now, if you would have a look at the rulebook, while it's really, really beautiful and it's very, very nicely done, nice designs and stuff like that, I want to say that there are certain things about this rulebook is quite lacking. Now, this does not feel like a rulebook. It feels more like a resource book. Why do I say that? Because for one thing, there are no examples or ways a new player would learn the game, right? They just set out different terms, and then they describe different terms without making it easy for a new player to play. But they do go into what each thing are. So it's more like a reference, a resource book. That's the first thing about this book, which I thought was like kind of bizarre. The second thing is while the book is a large amount of the book is the factions, like the breakdown of the factions, and a lot of story about the factions and stuff like that, right? There is no attempt to talk about Arcania on its own, right? So a book like this would need something like that, where you set the world. While it's nice that they actually have the map at the back, it would have been nicer if they actually had the story or the history of Arcania in this rulebook. Now you can actually find out the story of Arcania in other places, right? Website, I mean the Kickstarter and stuff like that. But you want it in the rulebook, so when you get it, everything is in here in one go. So there is no setup on Arcania, which is where you're playing. The other thing is also, while they talked about different houses, right? So having a look at what is at stake is quite important in terms of the factions. Just simply for me, Also, very, very important, just to note that while this book is slightly lacking, it is also a product of its designer, right? Basically, the miniatures were made first, and then the game came later, which is not a bad thing. I mean, there are many ways to make a miniature game. It's just that I believe that the rule book, could have been so much better. The game could have been so much better. Also, the decision to actually release this on Kickstarter first, I don't think was a good one because at the time, you could only get this game on Kickstarter, and when they finally released it to the retail outlets, most of the stores, including mine, had trouble stocking this because we'd carry this. In fact, this rulebook was in my store, a decade plus ago, but we had trouble moving it simply because everybody who was interested in the game had the miniatures and had the book, and stores did not want to give up space on tables to a game that was not really moving, which is understandable. Even for me, it's understandable. This was a problem because new players couldn't get into it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's my look at the Wrath of Kings rulebook. And while the comments were slightly negative, it's basically my comments and what I thought was wrong with the game. No, wrong with the promotion of the game. The game is quite fine. It's quite fantastic. It's quite interesting, quite innovative. So that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this flip through. As always, like and subscribe.